friends! Welcome back to Playdate! This month we're going to set sail! Today we'll start out by looking at a painting of a big fancy ship. Then we're going to learn about things that float and don't float in water. We'll do a little experimenting. Then we're going to hear a song about sailing from my friend Kai Simone. Then we're going to make our own boats. And then Kai's going to perform for us a second time. So many things today. Let's get started. So first I want to show you a really cool painting in the Milwaukee Art Museum's collection that shows you a really cool, gigantic ship. Let's take a look. The American painter William A. Lowe made this painting called The Prussia in 1908. The first thing I see when I look at it is a huge ship. This painting is based on a real German ship called the Prussia. The ship was built in 1902, and it was named after a German state named Prussia. See those tall poles sticking straight up from the ship? Those are called masts. How many masts are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On each of those masts, I see big rectangular pieces of white cloth. Those are the ship's sails. How many sails are on each mast? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I see some other sails too. They're in the shape of triangles. Wow, that's a lot of sails. Sails need to be big and sturdy so that they can catch the wind and help the ship to move forward. You can see many yellow ropes attached to the sails. Those are used to help the sailors adjust the position of the sails so that they can catch the wind at just the right angle. What more can we find in the painting? I see a lot of light blue sky behind the ship, and I see dark blue water underneath it. There are lots of waves in the water. I hope the sailors aboard aren't getting seasick. I see black and white stripes going up and down the sides of the ship, and I see where its name is painted on the side. All around the ship, I see lots and lots of birds. I wonder if they're seagulls. Have you ever seen seagulls by the water? There was lots to see in this painting of a ship. Thanks for taking a look with me. Did you like that painting? Doesn't that ship have so many sails? I really like that one. So you can see I have a lot of stuff in front of me now. Like I said before, we're going to experiment to decide what can float and what can't. What does floating mean, you might be wondering? Floating means that something or someone, if it's a person, can stay on top of the surface of water. And you can see I have my blue basin here, and I filled it with water. I didn't fill it too high. It's a little bit below the top edge. And I collected some things around my home to test if it floats. So you can see some different things. I actually rescued some things from my recycling, and I also found some things that I had. Let's see what floats. What should we start with? How about this soda bottle? I just rinsed it out. I kept the cap on. Let's see if it floats. I'll put it down this way. Oop, it fell. But it's floating. See how it's staying on the surface of the water? Hey, nice. Okay, so that one floats. I'm going to take it out so I have room to try something else. How about this cardboard tube? Hey, that's floating too. See how it stays up? Uh-oh, but look, as the water goes inside, the tube sinks. So that one does not float. So if you want to ride in a big boat, you don't want to use cardboard. See how now when I touch it, it's like really squishy? That's because since it's made of paper, it absorbed the water, which means it took it in kind of like a sponge. Oh, speaking of a sponge, I have a sponge. Here's my blue sponge. This is one of those ones that's spongy on one side and kind of scrubby on the other. Let's try putting it with the scrubby side down. Look, that floats too. But let's see, will it keep floating? It's floating pretty well. Let's try turning it over to the sponge side. Let's see what happens. Okay, it's still floating. I can see it there. Oh, Oliver just chased Reggie away. They do that sometimes. Uh-oh, see as my sponge absorbs water, it takes it in. And I see, I don't know if you can tell, it's not floating quite as high up. It's starting to sink, not quite as quickly as the cardboard tube did, but I think our sponge might kind of float, but if I left it in there and it took in a lot of water, it might not float for too long. I'm gonna take this one out before it sinks. And I'm just gonna give it a squeeze. Ooh, it really absorbed a lot of water. I'm gonna squeeze it out. Okay, what should we try next? This is a plastic container. I got some food from a restaurant and I picked it up and it came in this, and so I saved it. Let's put it down on top of the water. Ooh, it's floating. And this is made of plastic, so that means it doesn't really absorb. It doesn't have little tiny holes the way the sponge does. Yeah, that floats pretty nice. Okay, I'm gonna keep it up on my table with my floating stuff. How about this guy? This is a little scrubber brush that I use in my kitchen when I wash vegetables, and it kind of looks like a little hedgehog. Let's see if I lie him down. Oh, well, actually, he floats a little bit. I don't know if you can see it. His little face is above the water, but most of him is below the water, so kind of floats. I'll keep it up here with the other stuff, but it's not super floaty. How about my bowls? These bowls are also fun to use. You might already do this, but water play is really fun. You might do this in the tub. You can scoop up water and pour it out. It can be really relaxing. Now that now that the weather is getting a little warmer, you could even go outside if you have a basin like this or a tub. You could also do this in the bathtub, in your kitchen sink or your bathroom sink. And you can just pour water. This is great for kids' motor skills, to kind of experiment, see what happens. So that's a great thing with bowls, but let's see if they float if we're not pouring with them. I'm gonna put this one. That one's floating. And how about my small blue one? Hey, those both float really nicely. But I'm wondering if I put the bowl the other way, will it still float? Oh, that bowl sank right away. How about my bigger one? Oh yeah, that one sinks too. Once the air that's trapped inside kind of bubbles out, you see how it sinks down. So these float, but only if you put them with the open side up. So I'm going to keep them over here. They just float. How about this jar? This is made of glass, so it's a little heavier than my plastic stuff. Let's see if it floats. I have my lid on tight. That does float. Even though it's a little heavy, it still floats in the water. Nice. Okay, this is part of an egg carton. I cut it in half so it would fit in my basin, and you can see it has like the 6 little egg cups. I'm gonna try that. Ooh, that floats really nicely. All right, I'm gonna put that with my floating stuff. I brought out some aluminum foil, so adults, you should do this part. Tear off a little piece of foil. And I'm actually gonna rip this in half and do 2 different experiments. So this piece of foil, I'm gonna crumple into a ball. I'm gonna squeeze it real tight. Let's see if that floats. That floats really nice. Okay, with this piece, I'm gonna shape it kind of into a boat shape. So I'm gonna pinch around the edges so that there's kind of like little walls. And if you want to make it more like a boat, you can kind of pinch it on the sides. I'm gonna fold down the edges. So it's kind of a funny looking boat, but there we go. And I'm gonna put that down. That floats really nicely too. Okay, so our aluminum foil floats. I'm gonna put both pieces. I'm gonna put this in my basket. I also got a paper plate. Let's see if that floats. Yeah, that floats right on top. That works great. All right. This is a good floater. And then I have some small things. I have a little stone. Do we think it'll float? Oh, that fell right down. The rock does not float, even if I put it on its side. Yeah, that one sinks right down. Not a floater. Let's try another small thing. I have a little die from a game. Let's see this. Oh, that one sinks too. Yeah, not a floater. Sorry, die. This is all stuff that I don't mind getting wet, so you probably don't want to test anything that's really precious to you that you don't want to get wet, because everything's going to get really wet. Here's a little coin. This is actually a token from an arcade, but you could use like a quarter or a penny. Let's see if this will float. Oh, nope, coin does not float. Make sure I'm putting it on its side. Nope, sinks right to the bottom. Sorry, coin, you don't float. And I got a couple bottle caps too. Let's see. Those float great. And let's try like we did with our bowls. Let's see if I turn it upside down. Oh, this one's starting to sink. I wonder if I push it. Oh, these still kind of float when they're upside down, but they float a lot better, like the bowls with the open side on top. Cool. What kinds of things can you find in your house that you can test? Does it float or does it sink? I hope you find some cool things and you have fun experimenting. Next, we're going to hear our first song from Miss Kai Simone. She's going to be singing a song about sailing that I think you're going to really like. Let's tune in.
Well, it's not far down to paradise, at least it's not for me. And if the wind is right, you can sail away to find tranquility. Oh, the canvas can do miracles. Just you wait and see. Believe me. It's not far to never land. No reason to pretend. And if the wind is right, you can find the joy of innocence again. Oh, the canvas can do miracles. Just you wait and see. Believe me. Sailing takes me away to where I've always heard it could be. Just a dream in the wind to carry me, and soon I will be free. Fantasy, it is the best of me when I'm sailing. All caught up in the revelry, and every word is a symphony. Won't you believe me? Sailing takes me away to where I've always heard it could be. Just a dream in the wind to carry me. Soon I will be free. Well, it's not far back to sanity. At least it's not for me. And if the wind is right, you can sail away to find serenity. Oh, the canvas can do miracles. Just you wait and see. Believe me. Sailing takes me
out sailing. And the video that Miss Kai made is so cool. Thanks, Miss Kai. All right, so we have some of our things that we learned can float, and now I'm going to show you how you can make them into a boat. I have a few new materials now. I have scissors. I have a few wooden disposable chopsticks. I got these from when I ordered Chinese food, and these came with my food. You could also use things like straws, or maybe you have something like skewers, anything that's long and thin like this. You could even use a pencil or a pen. I have some thin cardboard. This is from the back of like a notepad. You could also just cut a piece of cardboard from a cereal box or a box of crackers, anything like that. You just want it to be kind of thin and flexible. I have some paper. I've got blue paper today. And I have some markers to do decorating. Oh, and this is really important. I have duct tape. So the important thing about using duct tape for this project is duct tape is waterproof, which means it doesn't absorb things like, remember our sponge and our cardboard tube. It doesn't absorb water, so it won't sink. And if you press down the sides really well all around, it won't let water kind of get in between the tape and whatever it's taped to. So this is really great for making boats. So we have those materials. And then here's what I saved from our floating things. I have my bottle, and I actually got a second bottle. I have my plastic takeout food container. I have my styrofoam egg carton. I saved my piece of aluminum foil that I fashioned into a boat. All right, so let's start with our first one. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my chopsticks and I'm going to separate them. Adults, you probably want to do this. You can always brush in between to get all those little splinters off. I didn't break it perfectly. It's fine if you don't. So we're going to use one of these to make a sail. And then I want to get a piece of paper, and maybe I'll cut this one in half. And you can just eyeball it. It doesn't have to be exact. And this is going to be my sail that'll go on the chopstick like this. It'll be kind of like we saw in the Prussia painting we were looking at earlier. I'm gonna put some decorations. It's a little bit wet on my work surface, so I just want to make sure I'm not getting my paper wet. And I'll open up my markers. And I think I might make a striped sail. So I'm going to put some pink lines going across. You can decorate both sides if you want to. So I have knots of those pink lines. There you go. And maybe I'll add some green lines in between. And you can decorate it however you like. You could also decorate with, if you have stickers or colorful or patterned tape, or you could use crayons, colored pencils, whatever you like. Okay. So here's how I decorated mine. And to put my sail onto my chopstick, I just need to poke holes. Lined up, one about here, one about here. If you have a hole puncher, you can use that. I don't have a hole puncher, so I'm just going to use a pencil. And just be careful that you don't poke it too far. You don't poke your fingers. And you also don't want it too close to the edge. You want to move it in a little bit. So I'm just going to lift my paper up and push my pencil like that. And on the other side too. So I have two holes, one here and one here. And now I'm just going to put my chopstick through. And you just want to be careful not to rip it. And then through the other side, like that. All right, see my sail? It has like a C shape if you look from the side. And then I'm going to make this sail attached to my plastic container here. So I'm just going to tape it to the inside, and I'll use a little piece of my duct tape. Cut or rip, so adults, you might want to help with this. I'm putting my duct tape over my chopstick, and then I'm just pressing it onto the side of my plastic, and now I've got a pretty nice sail on my little boat. This basin is small, so I don't really have room, but if you have a bigger bucket or bowl, or maybe if you're in the bathtub or a big sink, you could even blow the sail and make your sailboat move. You can kind of see mine's trying to move, but it doesn't have a lot of space. Cool, huh? Okay, so remember I had those 2 bottles. We know they float. Let's test them one more time. There they go. Yeah. Ooh, these just barely fit in my basin. Okay, what we want to do is, this is going to be the bottom of the boat. That's the part that floats. And I'm going to take my cardboard and I'm going to cut a small piece, maybe cut it in half, or maybe I'm going to cut a little bit smaller than half. So this is going to go on top. But remember when I put my cardboard tube in the water and it soaked up the water, it absorbed it, and then it sank? So I don't want that to happen with my flat cardboard. So I'm going to cover it with my duct tape, edge to edge. So I'll show you, and adults, so you probably need help with this part. I lined it up at the edge. I'm going to fold it over, and I'm just going to go around and around until my whole cardboard is covered, and I'm going to go around the edges too. Okay, I totally covered all of my cardboard with my Hello Kitty duct tape. Any duct tape works. Remember that you want to get all 4 of the edges covered with the tape too. You don't want any water sneaking in there. Okay, so now we have the floor of the boat. It's going to go on top like this. And I'm just going to put another piece of duct tape around the bottles so that it all stays connected. All right, so now it's all attached. Let's see if it floats. Hey, nice. And if you'd like to add another sail, we can make one. Oh, let's see, we can actually, let's use this other piece of my cardboard. You can decorate it. You can cut it into a triangle shape if you want it to look more like a sail. I'm just gonna cut an angle like this. And I'm gonna fold over the bottom, and that's how I'll attach it to the boat. So if you wanna draw some decorations on either side of the sail like that, you can do that. And then you can tape it to the top. All right. How do you like this sailboat? Yay. If you want to turn any of these into sailboats, you can use the same kind of sail we used on our first one on our plastic container. Egg cartons are kind of nice because this part goes up in the middle, so you can poke a hole just like I did before with my pencil, and you can just poke your chopstick through there or your straw or whatever you're using, and that'll stay up like that. And then you can make a sail just like we did before. Let me do some decorating again. I'm going to do some wiggly lines. Okay, there's my wiggly squiggly sail. And I'll poke my holes again with my pencil. And poke, 2 pokes. And then maybe this time I'll make the decorations be on the outside. But remember, you can decorate both sides if you like. And slide it on. There we go. Here's my other sailboat. And again, you can blow to make the wind that the sail catches to move. Ooh, you can see it because this one's a little smaller. So it starts on this edge, and I'm going to blow it toward you. There it goes. Yeah, I like my egg carton sailboat. And then same thing with our aluminum. If you want to glue a chopstick, or actually I could even use this sail that I made before. I'll get a little piece of tape. And I'll tape it to the bottom. I'm going to put another piece of tape on the other side. There we go. Okay, excuse me, egg carton sailboat. And here's our aluminum. I put this in the center of the boat because I want the weight to be right in the middle. That's another thing you can kind of experiment with. Where do things go to keep it balanced? Yay, nice. It's getting wet. All right. Whew, we made a lot of different boats. I hope you find some cool stuff that you can make boats with, and I hope you can decorate some nice sails. and let them go sailing. Let's visit back with Miss Kai again to hear another song about sailing. Hi, Miss Kai.
Sailor went to sea, sea, sea. See what he could see, see, see. All that he could see, see, see was the bottom of the deep blue sea, sea, sea. A sailor went to sea, sea, sea. See what he could see, see, see. All that he could see, see, see was the bottom of the deep blue sea, sea, sea. Sail on and on, sail on, sail on and on, sail on. Sail on and on, sail on and on and on and on. Everybody say, let me see. Like a warm dream seeps into my soul. Please just leave me right here on my own. Later on, you can spend some time with me if you want to. All I see, like a warm dream seeps into my soul. Please just leave me right here on my own. Later on, we can spend some time with me if you want to. All I see. It's time to say goodbye to all of my friends, and I can't wait till I see you again. Don't let your hearts be filled with gloom. We'll be together very soon.
Thanks for joining me this month to look at a big ship, sing songs about sailing with Miss Kai, learn about things that can float and sink, and making our own boats that really float in the water. I'm sorry to say that this is our last playdate for the season. We're going to take the summer off, but we'll be back this fall again for more Playdate with Art. Thanks for joining me for Playdate with Art at home this year. I know it's been a little bit different, but I hope you had fun. I know I did. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.